if we don't start now with the next bit, we'll never get through it all. This is Gez. Gez is quite a special soundings individual, to be honest, because he presented his work at the first soundings, and firstly, I wasn't aware of Gez's work or of Gez when he presented his work. He's fairly local, but also Gez had not been making any work for best part of a decade. And since restarting, having presented some work at soundings, he then has gone on to present work at further soundings, and we're kind of hoping that one part of the next season of soundings, were it to get funding, is an artist development side. And Gez is very much up there as one of the people we would like to bring on in some sort of local network and artist development program. So it brings me great delight that Gez has turned up with another contraption for soundings. This is Gez McCoy.
Hi again. Right. So once again, I've gone for bits and pieces that I've managed to procure from my work environment at the moment. So hopefully there's no one in here from there. So it's very metallic. There's 4 tanks. If I can just briefly. So we have 4 tanks in here, and each tank has got different sound elements to it. This one I built after the first soundings. I pinched this little box from work and some springs, and thought, let's put something together. And then thinking about what I could do for this one, I just went and grabbed another few of these and a few extra bits and pieces, and I started putting it together, and not really sure where it was going to end up. There's a lot of contact mics underneath that come out of these 2 leads here, and then I'm running into a little delay unit to give it a little bit more interesting sounds, I think, on it. And then just into this, it may not be that loud, but we'll see how it sounds in this lovely building.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Paul Gittins. I know Paul, I think, from a previous event that I used to run in my village hall called If Wet, where we had a similar sort of call to show work. And Paul showed some work, and then I think we had your work in full, didn't we, at one of the IFWETs? Yes. And it was a really nice piece called the Oak Apple Orchestra. And it was a very clever little idea where he took clock motors and stuck oak apples on the second hand of the clock motor. And then by angling the clock motor backwards, the power of the motor was sufficient to strike things with the oak apple, but then it didn't have the power to continue going round, so it would drop back to its original position. So every 2 seconds, quartz locked, as we've discussed with Graham's record decks, it would hit some sort of note or a can or whatever. And then if you introduce more, you would get these fascinating patterns, and your brain keeps doing that thing where it goes, oh, this is no longer the beginning of that loop, but this is now the new loop point. And it's a really nice project that just uses these clock motors. So that's how I got to know Paul. And is this a development of that, Paul?
It is, yeah.
Well, I'll let Paul Gittins tell you more about this project. Over to Paul.
Okay, I've got it. I've just got to put this battery in here, and it will start. So this has got letters going around here on this disc, which is made from a record player, which has been slowed down a little bit. We can change the rhythm on that by turning this thing here. So we can speed it up. Now, as it speeds up, it doesn't pick up so much exchange with the contrast in light, because if we slow it down, you get a more detailed analysis of those letters. So there's 4 optical switches in this bar here, and that's connected to electromagnets here, which push this little bar, which is made of a poppy stalk, and on the end of that is an oak apple that hits the strings on this guitar. So that's got Alfie on there going round, but we can easily change the pattern by putting another name on here. So if anybody's got a name they want to put on and hear it played musically, let me know. Can we have another name? 5 letters? 5-letter name, quickly.
Jason.
What?
Well, I just thought of a 5-letter name.
What's his name?
It's not my name or anyone. I don't know any Jasons.
Jensen.
Jason.
Jason, okay. That's a J coming up. It's a J. We need an A coming up. Oh, no, it's a U, sorry. Anyway, it's spelt differently and backwards. But I don't really care. It sounds good. Now, if I put these at a slight angle, it'll activate them in a slightly different way. So we'll just listen to this for a little while. And that's that.
I should say, we don't normally go hell for leather through things quite like this, but as our last event, I really just wanted to feature as many great people's work as I could. And Tim is another person who came to an early soundings and presented some of his, what I think he described as very quiet noise music instruments. So we've got something in that sort of broad realm here tonight, I think. I've since recorded a bit with Tim, which was great. And I think it's the first time you recorded your instruments. Yeah, first time. So that was great. He came to my studio and recorded here. And we then talked about this contraption, which I hadn't really heard of. Yeah. So I'm delighted that Tim Floyd has kindly brought it along tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Floyd.
Hiya. This is a pedal-powered audio contraption. I'm going to do like a very quick demo and then talk about the various parts of it. So there's a percussive part here, which can just be added to. And I just wanted to talk quickly about the various parts of it. So obviously, I'm pedaling. There's two bike chains which come up to the top here and turn like a rotating horizontal shaft. Along the shaft, I've got a series of discs which are programmable. So there's 6 which are like wheels, and you can put pegs in and out of them. And by doing that, you can kind of create different rhythms with the different percussive elements. One of the discs is a tin can lid, and to program that, I use tin snips and just snip away bits of it, and then that was that first little kind of clicking rhythm that you could hear. There's 4 bicycle pumps, and they pump air into like a small sort of reservoir of air, which is this hot water bottle. From there, it will go up into a little kind of airtight tub, like a little sandwich box, which has kind of controllable levers, which you can kind of control air supply with. And then that air supply can go out into various different wind-powered or wind-sounded things. So I had a melodica in there to begin with, but I kind of like sort of more unpleasant sounds as well. So I'm just going to switch from the melodica to something that's a little bit more like a noisemaker. It's all acoustic. So again, using the bicycle pumps, The sound, the amount of air that goes through here can kind of be adjusted a little bit as well. There's a few other little elements. So there's what is kind of like a intoned on a mori or a hurdy-gurdy. So that's like a string with a rotating wheel that makes a kind of screechy sound. And I've got a little music box kind of tinkly lullaby kind of element to that as well. I built this quite a long time ago, and I've just been procrastinating for years because it's designed for busking, and I realise I've got to practice a lot and just kind of motivating myself to practice. I still haven't kind of mastered it or even kind of really understood what I can do with it yet, but I really like making things. I'm not a musician, so that's kind of what I enjoy doing.
Right, I'm back again. This is Mike McShane. Mike and I met, I think, originally at Steamhouse, which is a pretty cool initiative in Birmingham, part of BCU, which has workshops and people who know what they're doing with the various machines in the workshops, including Greg, who's sat over there, who's the metal tech at Steamhouse. And you go there. Once upon a time, it was free. Now, due to the EU situation, it's no longer free, but it's still quite cheap, and you get to use loads of really good machines, like laser cutters and all sorts of clever computer-controlled CNC machines and so on. And you learn grubbier things like welding from Greg. Mike and I met there, and Mike started to ask me about speaking machines. I never knew it would end up quite where it did. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mike McShane.
So, hello everyone. This is the machine that I made. I kind of, when I spoke to Sam, I got a bit overexcited, and so it's kind of, it's not worked through properly, and I'm kind of using a servo sequencer control for model trains to control this. So, for instance, I can open the drawer, and then when the drawer is opened, I can move the tongues.
I can see the tongue moving. It's quite disturbing.
But basically, I think what I will aim to do today is just kind of make some sounds with it. I'm not really musical in any way, and I haven't had much experience. Well, this is the first time I've ever presented any of my stuff. So I'll just, without further ado, show some bits of it. I was just going to leave that running. But basically, as you could tell maybe from me fingering it, this motor burnt out just before arrival this morning, so I had to control the throat myself. Eventually, what I want to do is to have multiple bellows feeding into it so that I can have a kind of drone sound coming through, and then a larger lung so that you could have a kind of melodic voice with then kind of these bassier valves coming from its thighs, as it were. And I'm kind of got into looking at sound, partly actually from coming to see you. And kind of I'd made pneumatic sculptures that kind of move, because I'm also interested in puppetry. And it was just seeing the potential of a puppet that could have its own voice that was really exciting for me. So yeah, that's kind of the machine and where I'm at. Thank you.
I was going to do a little takeover myself, but I'm not going to because there isn't time. I will show you what it is and explain what it does. And then, actually, before I do that, I will show you one that we have here by proxy. Oh dear, I pulled my mic off. Hang on. So, I don't know if you can still hear me. This is a device that was sent to us by Richard Sewell, who has done 3, I think, takeovers during the course of Soundings, and couldn't be here tonight because his friends are getting married. Very inconsiderate of them, I would say, but he sent this, and it is an earlier version of the thing that those who were here followed around the streets of Worcester. It has a GPS in it, and it creates generative music based on each square meter of the planet. New generative music for each square meter. I can't really demo it in here, and we haven't got time to go outside. But if anybody afterwards would like, whilst we're packing down, would like to switch this on and take it around the streets, you're very welcome to do so. But I think Richard may only have sent it in order that I count half a takeover so that he wins the most takeovers of Soundings. I'm not quite sure. Very briefly, I made a guitar pedal, which is, drop my mic again, which is extremely out of character because I don't really play guitar very often. But I'm going to quickly explain to you what it does. It looks like this. It has an amplifier in here that takes a guitar signal in and drives the sound of the guitar into this plate. This plate then has a contact mic underneath, and the output signal is what's processed through this plate. So it makes a very horrible kind of tinny distortion, but also anything that you do to this plate changes the distortion. So if you constrain it with your hands, it changes kind of like a filtery sort of effect on the sound. Or if you chuck a load of things on top of it, it adds loads of sizzle to the distortion. It has a clean out, which you would never generally want to use, but that happens to also act as a feedback input. So you can also then plug back out of the filthy sound back into the input and create a feedback loop, and then it self-oscillates with a kind of plate that you can discard various things on top of. I'll show people it. In fact, I'm planning on doing a little video of it because I think it's relatively successful. I cycled here with my guitar and my guitar amplifier, and that is all I'm going to say about this pedal when I could have just left all that stuff at home. Anyway, thank you very much.